And good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Saturday Open Mic Live. Tonight, we are going to be going over the raid with the current prizes, as well as how everybody is doing. And it's supposed to be the Roo and Stu show, but apparently Stu, it's his birthday today, and I think he may have had one too many. And so I think he's asleep. So tonight it's myself and Brian, and we've got Peter as well as Berean. The link is in the chat if you want to join us. Just a couple of high-level things. First off, if you're not aware, Kixeye's site is down for Battle Pirates, but apparently you can still play on the Facebook site, although sorry about that. Kixeye's site is live. Facebook site is, Kixeye's site is down. Facebook site is still live. And so moving on to the raid, there have been a couple of changes over the last couple of days. First off, they have dropped the damage, I think it is on the 69 target. They have also added additional charged armors. You can now get more than was originally allowed. And they've also added 3, I think it is, 2-day build tokens. So those are the high-level changes that I'm aware of. And so I thought what we'd do now is just run through the panel and see how everybody's going and what they're thinking about the raid, how they're doing. And so if you want to kick that off, Brian.
Actually, you missed a couple of things. The Phoenix is now 15 million instead of 20. If you already bought the Phoenix at 20, you're going to automatically get credited the 5 million points. You don't need to send in a ticket. You should just get 5 million. I don't know how that's going to work maybe right now because Kix's site is down, but hopefully you get that. And they changed the bottom right prizes. It was the Zealous and the Edge Missile and the Pneumatic Launch Actuator. And now is the Alpha Behemoth and its weapon and special. As for the raid, I'm at about 90 million, I think. My goal was to get the Phoenix flag and the ship build tokens and be done. And then they added 24 million worth of new ship build tokens. So I had to get those. And I did. I've been hitting S sets with 3 Phoenixes and a Savage flag. And because of all the tokens, I was just able to get the Phoenix flag out, like built, basically completely with tokens. So I might see how that goes a little later. It's going well for me, but I feel like it's not going well for a lot of other people. Might get into that later.
Okay, and thank you for the Phoenix. Yes, I did forget that. I apologize. Peter, how about you?
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not too enthused with this raid right now. It seems like they geared it more towards people who are able to get a whole bunch of Phoenixes out and get them at least partially ranked during the last VXP weekend. So I stopped at 2 million, just barely enough to get the Zoe's Apollo.
Okay, so was it just the target difficulty, or?
It's a combination of that and the fact that it's, pardon my French here, an utter pain in the ass to do 60s with 2 unranked Phoenixes. Go in, kill a few things, retreat to recharge the armor, lather, rinse, repeat. I'm not doing that for 4 days.
Okay. Yeah, I know there's a couple of folks that have talked about only having a couple and then rank being such an issue. Okay, Berean, how about you?
Well, sitting, I think, right around 9 million. I know there's been some discussion about participation in general that seems to be really, really down. I think the last time I checked globally, I'm right around the 8,000 mark with only about 9 million points. I am shooting for the Phoenix flag. Probably going to get a little bit of help from my alliance. I got some guys that pretty much have full Phoenix fleets and some pretty healthy Skyfire fleets. I only got 2 Phoenixes out. I did at least get them 60 to 65% rank. They're doing, I do agree that I have to recharge my charged armors doing the 60s. But, I mean, I'm knocking out a 60 set for less than 30 minutes damage with only 2 Phoenixes. So, you know, yes, it's a grind, but I can't really complain. But, you know, honestly, I think that 60% plus ranking is making a little bit of a difference. I can't hit the bigger stuff with it just because I'm not getting the reload. If I had a Savage flag, I probably could try the tier 6s, but I just don't have it. I'm grinding through what I've got. I had to pick up the Alpha Behemoth. I decided to skip the Zoe. Had to pick up it because I had neither one of those. And I'm going to have to pick up either the carbon fiber or the UAV special. Didn't get either one of those through all the process. So it's going to be a grind getting to the Phoenix flag, but just stuff that I'm hearing, it's going to be well worth it.
Yeah, there was a couple of people last night that were talking about how well it was, and it makes a huge difference on speed and the damage output against those as well. And so it's a fun ship to have. Okay, Dennis, welcome. How is your raid going?
I'm at 180 million and having fun.
Well, good. That's nice to hear.
I'm glad to see that kicks. I don't know how it was dispersed because I've heard people complaining about it, that they did offer for $10 a full Apollo fleet, or whatever fleet it was that they gave out.
Yeah, no, that
yeah.
$10 for the full fleet was Apollos.
Yeah, the Apollos. And
I think it was with oh god, what was it? The Talon missile and carbon fiber casing mounted on.
No.
No?
It comes with the Scoria. It comes with the Scoria.
Oh, Scoria. The Scoria and Talon look so similar.
Important. They have both Eager missiles.
But I've had a couple people say that this is the first time they've enjoyed a raid because they at least had a chance in it, even though they're doing 60s, but they're happy to do the 60s without help.
That's nice to hear. Yeah, I've got a couple of lower levels in my sector. There are some that are using Apollos, and then I've got a mate of mine who's running around with Apollos with the coaxial mortars on them, and he's having a blast with those as well.
Yeah, and that's what the game's about. It's about time.
Yeah. Okay, Gorilla Slap, welcome to the show. How's your raid going? Well, I guess he's not there. How about Northman?
Yeah, hello. My raid is going good. I'm at 140 mil. I'm using 3 of the Phoenixes, and I was lucky to get them out and ranked at the VXP weekend. So, and I only have 1 armor on each of them, but I managed to take the hundreds for like about 1.5 hour repair in average on each, and that's doable for me. It's like 3 or 4 coins each hit. So, yeah, it's not too bad. You know, it's always a grind. When you've done the 5 or 6 first, you know the driving, you know the drill, and then it's just if you have the patience to grind, you can get as much point as you want, but you get bored, and that's, I think, it's the biggest issue when you do this over and over for many days, and you still know you have 2 more events like this. So that's the downside, but it's okay.
Okay. Nick, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. I'm just...
okay, how's your raid going?
I'm not enjoying the raid. I'm at about, I don't know, 220, 230, 240 million. I ain't not a clue what I'm at. All I know is I still need more points, and I just don't like it. But anyhow, that's the way it is. You got to get the things.
Is it the targets or the time to do them, or just
time? You look at the time. You work out the time to do a target. It's like 12 minutes, 15 minutes to do a 100 light. So you're talking about 16, 17, maybe 20 million an hour. You need 320 million ish. I don't know, and that's if you're up to date with everything. So just look at the seat time on that. It's just not, well, it's beyond stupid to me. But there we go.
Yeah, that is something that, and although we did not have this the last raid, and I'm hoping that we don't this raid as well, where they add in that second S target, because if they do that on the last raid, then yeah, you're doubling your target time for not quite as many points, and so that certainly is going to be an issue.
Well, they're stiffing us 100,000 points per S target right now, so you know.
I was getting stiffed over almost 500 since the start of it. And it's actually gone from 500K to, yeah, I see your face, 500K to 600 or 700K at times this morning.
For an S target?
Yep. I have not gotten 5 million for
you're
one.
You're not supposed to get, it's 4.5.
Yeah, 4.5.
There was
two and a half and 2.5 is 5 by my math.
It's 2.25 and 2.25.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, shit. Well,
you're supposed to get 5.5, but you're getting around. You get like 2,141,000 for the target kill, but the bonus is okay. So it's about 4.4, but you're supposed to get 4.5. It's kind of first world problems, but when you're expecting us to hit as many targets as you are, if every 40 targets you gain a target, that's like 160 million. But the thing is, like, you can get 160 million and still not have even all the 2 flags and the charged armors. So that's a difference of an S target on the highest level players.
I'm at 180 and I still have probably 6 charged armor I can still get.
Yeah, like you should have an extra S target done for free.
Yeah.
But because I can't do basic math, they book that.
Yeah, I noticed the other thing too, like if you, I know a lot of people are going on the inside and taking the drones from the inside as much as possible, and I've been running around the outside because I've been doing a couple of preps, and I've noticed that if I kill everything and don't go in and kill the torp towers, then the target finishes as well. So you know, there's some shortage of some points there. Hey Jeff.
Hey.
Hey, how's your raid going?
Yeah, I'm bored already. I still have.
Wow! I still have enthusiasm.
I still have over 40 million to go to get the flag and a couple more charged armors. I spent most of my points already refitting and stuff. So
how much further do you have to go?
Probably, I don't know. I have to calculate it. Probably a little over 40 million more.
Oh, okay. Okay, and Venom, welcome, mate. How are you?
I'm okay, I guess.
How is your raid going?
I'm at near enough 30 mil points with a lot of help. My 2 carriers I got built in the time are not enough to do anything past 65s, which is fun. So, well.
Yeah, I had, I don't know, is anybody on here, Mark talked about this the other day on the Tuesday show, and then we were talking it a little bit last night. I did not get the Skyfires because I had real life things that I had to take care of. Has anybody here tried taking in a Skyfire to take the drones out and then bringing their Phoenixes in on the 100s?
I've seen it work repeatedly and it works very well.
Okay. So
yeah, I'm running straight 3 Skyfires, and I'm doing 100s in about 6 minutes.
That's not bad. I know there were a couple people that had a couple of Phoenixes and one Skyfire, and were trying to do all of the same pieces at once. And so if you do have a Skyfire, a single Skyfire, even if there's not a whole lot on there, but some speed and a couple of UAVs, that may be an option to bring that in first, take out the drones, retreat, and then go ahead and bring in the Phoenixes. And somebody else mentioned this earlier, which totally went over my head last night until somebody mentioned it. The act of going out and recharging your armor and then coming back in. That's something else to remember as well.
Okay, I'll try that.
Yep. The other thing too, and somebody had reported this on the page, I have not personally experienced this, but has anybody experienced targets that are exploding as they're after they're retreating?
I got there
One,
a
I had
couple
one.
times on Thursday.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I went into a target, but my connection dropped and I died. And a few minutes later, I was back on, and the target wasn't there. So I died, and the target exploded.
Okay, because I've not seen any myself, and a couple of other people had reported it, and I wasn't sure if it had been fixed or if it was still going on. Or
Now I know it was happening a lot this morning in our sector, so did a lot of people complaining about it, and it was all 100s that it was happening to them on.
I know that is
Yeah,
incredible.
I was having it on 60s on Thursday.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, I had a 65 do it on Thursday.
I actually tried something that worked very well against the drones, and I had I think maybe 8 or 9 skullduggery laying around in my cruise, and I put on one of those in with my 3 Phoenixes, and those little drones, they died so fast it didn't even hurt me. All the ships actually. But you know, that's not many people have them anymore, but I had them way back. I collected them way back and I was away, but they were lying around there, and skullduggery, they really did the trick in with those drones.
Yeah, there's a couple of options for crews. One, of course, is and I think it's Wolfpack is the missile crew.
Yeah.
With straight missile additive damage for the missiles. And then there is, of course, the remote raiders for speed. You could use silent hunters to give yourself a little bit more speed. And because I've noticed there is a very fine line between hitting drones and being hit by drones. And so if you mistime that click when you're chucking your UE after you've woken them up, if you're not fast enough, then you're going to end up taking damage for that. Has anybody tried any other crews?
I use the UAV crews, 2-star and 3-star, and they make a big difference.
I think somebody on the page tried, oh god, what was it? Steelheads.
Yeah, that's a nice all-round crew for damage reduction.
I also used the Sea Serpent, and I really like that too. 2-star with 2-star with the evade and the turn speed. That really works good.
Somebody told me that the DOS crew.
Steelheads doesn't have any corrosive resistance yet. I was reading the notes from the BV show with GDA, and he said they added corrosive to the steelheads, and probably, I would imagine, come out in the update. But
They may have just forgot to update the text for it is all.
Now, I think there was a big discussion when they released. There was a couple of new crews that were done, and there were things that were added, and they did actually go back and say, like, I want to say it was Grease Monkeys, and then Creeping Death, I think it is, where it says all damage protection, that if the new damage type, aka corrosive, and I think there was another one, if that damage type came out after those crews were released, then it was not included in that damage percentage. So it sounds like they're maybe thinking of that and adding that in, which would be really good.
Yeah.
Which they probably should do when they release the new damage type. But, you know, they got to it now at least.
Yeah, I know they had talked originally, or not too long ago, on one of the shows about that they were going to revamp the whole cruise completely. So it would be interesting to see how that turns out. Is the site still down?
Well, the forums seem to be working. I haven't tried playing through it, though.
Apparently Kix is up for playing the game. I don't know because I play on Facebook, but people are saying that it's up.
I'll tell you in a second.
I hope so.
Looks like Kix is up.
If forums are working, I better go on then.
Has anybody else noticed?
Noticed what?
Has anybody else noticed? I was just doing 100 before the show, and those stone missiles are actually doing corrosive damage.
I think everything in the target has an element of corrosive.
And because when they hit me, my charged armor glowed green.
Me too.
Imagine it a bit like a muddle missile, except it's not exploding. It's just doing the damage type. It's
I do like that. I do like that glowy green, though. I think that looks pretty specky. So issues with targets other than the exploding. Has anybody else noticed anything unusual in the targets?
So there's a target in the dead center, the big old building, that launches mortars when you kill it. And I think there's one on the side too in the S target and in the A sets too. And those things are explosive damage. And that's rude because like I killed that center building, and because the mortars tend to fly out really far, I moved up really close to it, but I didn't see one of the mortars fire, and it landed right beside it, and it hit my ships. That one mortar did as much damage as the whole rest of the target does, about 45 to 50 minutes for a single mortar. And it's not like we can see where they're going to land. Really, we have a guess of where they go, but as to how far out, you don't know. And it's not like they're targeting you. And no one's going to put gales on just to shoot those down. So I think that was a little rude to include explosive damage in the target. Even if, yes, it's unintentional and you should never get hit by it, but I just did because I pulled up right close to it and just lobbed a ball right on me. So.
Now that's interesting because I actually thought it was the flaming cheese balls that were doing it.
Flaming, yes, those flaming cheese balls, yes.
Yeah, because I made the mistake of driving into one of those last night while we were on chat and was using lots of naughty words. And yeah, if you get tagged by one of those little buggers, holy cow, it's like, doesn't kill you completely, but it really puts some serious hurt on you. And the other
that happens even in the 40 targets, because I took an Apollo fleet in, and one of them hit my Apollo fleet, and boom, there goes half the health.
Yeah, and they're explosive, and I could tell because, one, nothing should ever deal that much damage in terms of corrosive to me ever, because I have auras and charged armors and such, and two, I didn't see the charged armor particle effect on any of them. It didn't glow green, so it's not corrosive like the launcher turret thing. That's corrosive, and you can tell, but those aren't. So yeah. Never knows.
There were two other things that I had written down. One was if you're, and this was for the 100, if you're directly south coming up, and you're heading up to, on the south of the target, there's those two missile turrets next to each other. And then there's like the little mini volcano behind. I've noticed that my Phoenixes are actually targeting the volcano behind and not the two targets up front. And so when I've been doing this, I've had to actually be selecting those two targets. And then the other thing that kind of is irritating me, and this is probably more my issue, and not necessarily Kix's, is some of the targets with the Reavers, they kind of merge into the background. So you're like driving around, and then it's like, oh crap, there's one of those there, because it's not easily identifiable. It's kind of merged into the background with a camouflage target.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, the reason they put those torp towers and all those other extra little buildings and such in there is just to draw your fire anyway.
Yeah.
And the my point defense system, because I had pulled really close to one of the torp towers, and my missiles were shooting at the turret, which I wanted them to, but my point defense was shooting at the torp tower, and it wasn't killing it. It wasn't dealing any damage. And then my missiles switched to it and killed it in one volley, like they do.
I haven't even noticed my point defense shooting.
I've noticed that it'll shoot it to pretty much anything that gets into range. Doesn't matter if it's a ship or a building or what.
I mean, if something gets close enough for my point defense to be working, I have other problems, so I try not.
I was going to say.
I try not to do that.
Well, yeah, that's probably why.
Yeah, that's when you're in full-on run forest mode.
Well, is it possible to, does anyone shoot down those flying cheese or whatever you call it, with the phalanx 4?
No, you would need anti-mortars, I think, if they could even be shot down with those. And it's dumb because there's no reason to put anti-morts in other than that.
I agree.
I mean, maybe the UAVs, but my phalanx actually does a pretty good job with those if I make a mistake or taunt the bull, but don't run away fast enough, and it gets close and fires a triple salvo.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
And
Oh yeah,
as-
Brian, have a question for you. Somebody had posted something in chat. The small icons we have on our fleet at the start of a target, then we kill the buildings with the red glowing icon and they disappear. Do we get any benefits from killing those?
Okay, so the red building with the flag, it was mentioned in the raid briefing. That is a building that increases the opponent's damage, but also increases your damage. It looks like a little thud with a plus sign on it, like how
Yes.
if you were in the Gridiron's field. So that means you have more damage. And when you blow that building up, you lose your damage buff, but so does the opponent. So take your pick.
Okay.
I've also noticed that there are some buildings in some of the targets that have a different looking little flag on it, and those are supposed to suppress the damage done by generalist hulls.
I think you're talking about the ones on the north wall. There's two buildings there that have red flags on them.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, those are in the S targets right now.
Yeah, nest targets.
Okay, so that's the S target. On any of the lower targets, are there any issues that anybody's seeing on those?
About the most common thing I've been seeing, which comes into play even on the S targets, and maybe you guys have looked and noticed it, and just like I've said before, I'm just hitting the 60s, and I will go through, I will circle the target with like one, there'll be one building left to destroy. I've circled the entire target. I've not shot at anything else. I go in, I shoot the one target that I know for sure is left. It tells me that I have victory, but my bar for the target still says that there are things to kill on it. And therefore, I'm getting less than maximum points. So where in the heck is this stuff that we're supposed to be killing that your ship never shoots at?
I wonder if that's tied to the radioactive clouds.
It's still going on in the S targets. Sometimes it'll show there's a quarter life and it's all dead. So
Yes,
it's probably happening everywhere.
Sometimes I know that the targets will say victory when even if you have the little power core thing left or the torp towers or something.
I haven't seen that myself, but I've hit a few 60s and a few 80s too, but I haven't had that experience yet.
That just reminded me.
Yeah, I've had that happen a few times where things weren't all dead and it gave me victory. So,
But to say something positive with this cycle is that the targets are very small and they're not clouding all the map.
Yeah, I'm actually liking that. I know it's still taking time, and I know there are ways in which you can mitigate that. And thank you again for everybody that takes the time to put videos on the TFC page. There've been a couple of really good ones out there, but like I know you can go into the center and draw the drones to you on some of the higher targets and then kill them that way and save some time. But I'm kind of enjoying it. They're not huge. I don't have to drive all the way around the map to get stuff done. It's like concentrated stuff in the beginning, and so I think I'm at about 55 million. I played for about an hour last night while talking to people, and I did about another hour this morning, which was probably more prep than anything else. And I'm actually kind of enjoying the targets. Now, that being said, after 3 months, I'll probably be gouging my eyes out. But I'm actually enjoying it. I don't have to. With the fleet that I've got, I'm using, I probably would call them 2 and a bit Phoenixes. There's really 4, but 2 of them are pretty much naked. I'm enjoying not having to worry about a tank and then bring the rest of the fleet in. I can just basically click and play and not have to worry about a macro. And so I'm kind of enjoying it.
Yeah, but I was meaning on the map what you see in the sector. When they flood all the sector with raid targets, now they are small and they don't take so much space and flood the sector.
I've been kind of thinking that they're sand fleas. It's like they could make them a wee bit bigger. Because when I first got on, I was like, where's all the raid targets? And everybody's like, and I'm just thinking they're people's campaign towers. So, maybe not as big as the last ones that we had, but maybe just a little bit bigger than they are now.
Yeah, I'll drink to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they call them glowing nav relays. Maybe they should have them glow.
Well, I was expecting them to look like the Nexus things that we had last time when we were hitting the 100s. That's kind of what, I don't know why, but I expected them to look like the Nexuses or the VXP targets. But yeah, it was like all these little spots on the map, and it's like and then trying to identify which ones were which. So
that would have been too easy.
Yeah. But yeah. So, a couple other things that I guess we've kind of talked through the raid. A couple of other things that we're seeing and hearing about. There was the BV had a show on, and forgive me, I think it was it Thursday or Tuesday?
Yes,
yeah.
Thursday night.
Yep, they had their Thursday show, and they had GDS Brewix was on, and there was the two-letter word there that came out, dry dock. So there's been some mention of that.
I drink to that.
Yeah. So that's something that was brought up, and so it sounds like it may not be the traditional dry dock that everybody was thinking was going to come, but it does sound like there is some movement in that direction. So that was a really positive thing. And then there were some offers that came out, and somebody mentioned them earlier on the show, where people were given the opportunity to buy Apollos for, I think it was about $10. And then there were some other offers for folks that had not played for a while, so they're looking to bring those back. And that kind of brings me to something that I wanted to touch on and see where everybody was at, is participation. Are you seeing it declined from last time around? Are you seeing more people on chat, or is it just kind of normal?
I'm saying a decline. For where I'm at on the board, I shouldn't be there. On the leaderboard, I should not be there at all. So there's less people playing worldwide when I'm in the top 600.
Yeah, but it could also be that you really don't need so much point now that you did before. The last 2 or 3 events, it was like 5 or several hundred. Now you only have the 2 lead ship, and if you want to charge armor and or the tokens. But last raid with the Justice, the Phoenix, and all that, the Vasico Pride, there were so many prizes, but maybe people have stocked up on some of those stuff, so they don't need so much now. Maybe.
It's still relative.
You still need 90 million just for the 3 boats.
Yeah, it's a shitload of points
if you're going to cover yourself.
Well, I see the participation as being down overall. I was looking last night when we were all having a discussion, and we had 82 people in my sector registered as having points, and a vast majority of them had 2 and 3 digit numbers worth of points. Participation looks to be like really down, but I can honestly say, at least in mine, it seems like how do I tactfully put this? The complaints in comms, yeah, that's a nice polite way to put it. That seems to be probably a little higher than your average raid. I mean, we always see that, but that definitely seems up.
Yeah, we're seeing, I mean, our sector is always busy, and there's always people doing the raid, and there's always, people helping other people out, and then, we have big alliances that move in and out and that kind of stuff. And so I'm still seeing a lot of activity there, not as much as normal, but I am still seeing people, and there's an odd few that have not had the time to go out and prep big fleets, and so some of those are struggling. But I feel too, I think that the numbers are down, and I'm not sure how to correct that other than reducing build times or potentially chores, that kind of stuff.
I think I know how not to correct it.
And how is that, Brian?
What is adding prizes, Alex?
Well, wait a minute. Let me ask you this. So, is it adding prizes? Are you talking the FM, or are you saying adding prizes to the raid?
Oh, right. Adding prizes to the raid in the middle of the raid.
Okay, so you don't think it's a good thing for them to up the ability to get more charged armors or the
No, it's not.
tokens?
It's not addressing the problem that players have. The problem that players have is they can't do the targets. And they drastically adjusted the 69 down significantly so that players could do it, but there's a couple of issues. One, it's blitz target, so you're not doing it for free. And even if you want to get stuff at a reduced price, you still have to pay for that. They upped the they also upped the completion bonus on the B set by 100,000. It's 500,000 now. And they removed the level penalty. So no matter what level you are, if you hit a B set, you'll get full points. I believe that's still the case. And when you do those things, like it says bad things about what's actually going on. I think one of the real ways to help, I mean, increasing the B set points is good. Maybe reducing the difficulty on the B set in general, not just the blitz target, because then you're asking people to coin. But the problem is, we're halfway through the raid, and if people are sick of the raid, it's just like I think it was Baron was talking about earlier, how a lot of people have 2- and 3-digit points. They go in, they hit a target, they get really upset because the fleet they've been working on doesn't work, and then they stop. And you can't refit your fleet within the time of the raid to get it well enough to do the raid without getting tokens from the raid. But if you get tokens from the raid, you're doing well enough and you don't need to refit your fleets. You just can't make your fleet do well after the initial incursion. That first experience is, I can't overstate its importance. And they've quit and they're not going to come back, and you giving them new prizes it's like let them eat cake. There's no cake. There's bread. Now screw you, go meet a guillotine, all that sort of stuff.
That actually raises a good point, and that's something that I heard, oh gosh, probably 3 or 4 times last night, Brian, where people use the tokens from the raid and I refit. I use the tokens from the raid and I refit, or I'm going to use these tokens and I'm going to refit. And to me, the tokens from the raid should be things that I apply to my nice new shiny ship, and I should not be taking the time to use those to refit ships and finish ships, and that of course goes to the whole build time thing. And so I'd like to see it to where the tokens that are in the raid go back to being the bonus and not the almost I have to spend my first 20 million points to get tokens to finish my 3rd ship so I can do the raid, if that makes sense.
Well, I kind of take the stance, and this happened with me on the last raid. I did not have any charged armors going into the last raid. The first thing I did is I went out, I hit enough to get a charged M armor, and then I got the token to immediately put that on my Zealous. That's one thing, when you have a minor little thing to get your fleet in shape to make a lot of points. And I did make a lot of points last month. But when you're having to spend a bunch of money to buy the build tokens and use every single one of them because you're totally having to change your ship, I'm not going to... I'll walk the thin line here. You can't say that that's completely Kicksai's fault. That could have been somebody just making a bad build. And I'm not throwing stones at nobody. If Kicksai's in the wrong, y'all will hear me. Some of you have heard me in the after shows. I'm all over Kicks when Kicks is in the wrong. But if the player's in the wrong, I don't show them much mercy either. So, wherever the wrong is, I'm gonna point it out. And you can't blame Kicksai totally for that. So
no, I agree with you on the refits, but okay, case in point for me, I'm pretty sure that from the last raid to this raid, and I think there was one day where I was not building anything, shame on me, but it seemed to me that with the Phoenixes and trying to finish those, and there's just not enough time to do it. And we had I think we were a week short this time with the way June being short. We were 3 weeks before the raid, so we only got like 1 week of tokens with all of the new content that was added instead of like the 2 weeks. And I really felt that this raid. I mean, I was bad and I behaved, and I was a filthy coiner last night, and I spent like $8 finishing off one of my Phoenixes just because I wanted 4, not 3. But it just, I really felt the pinch this month, and I hate having to use my raid tokens to finish ships or refit. And I like having my FM tokens left and getting the top shiny in the braid, kicking that off, and then using my weekly tokens and then applying raid tokens to that. And I couldn't do that this time around.
As far as the charged armors too being a luxury item, yeah, you can tell they've tuned the S target to the charged armor, because I finally put charged armor on 2 of my Phoenixes, and my 3rd one doesn't have any, and the difference is night and day.
Oh yeah, I've got 2 that are naked, no armor, and boy, I tell you, I feel it. I've got 2 ships that have just a smidge of damage on them, and then 2 that are like almost dead.
But even if you have the regular corrosive armor on there, and it still is like it doesn't have any.
Wow. Hey Hefe, how are you? Oh, I guess he's not listening.
He's not talking.
As far as I don't know if this is an indication of participation or not, but I looked at my alt 9 million, and it's 12,766 in the world, or in the global. Usually that should be like around 20-some thousand, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm about 12,300,000 with just over 2 million. That should be down like in the 30,000s rather. Like,
but if we see at the Phoenix now, we have to agree for those people who have it out, maybe 3 or 4. It's actually working quite good compared to what we experienced with the Monolith and Icebreaker in the last cycle.
Yep, I have to agree there. No changes, at least that we're aware of. No changes prior to the raid, and I've not, at least my perspective is, I've not heard of any major glitches with the hull itself. So I have to give props to Kix there with it being released and tested, and it seems to be working well. Unless somebody else is seeing anything.
I'm not yet.
Yeah. Has anybody on the panel got the guts built yet?
I'm building the. I'm 10 days after I get some more tokens on the carrier flagship. Mm-hmm. But I've been every token I buy goes right on that, so I'm down to 10, and that's a full build.
Okay.
I got the Gutspells Phoenix up, but I haven't tested it yet. I'm actually refitting it so that it's not delicious paper when it actually goes into the target.
Yeah, it's always
looks like a good flagship.
Yeah, you can get a flagship out if you save your FM tokens and buy all the tokens, because they gave you the 6 days more. So that those 5 plus the 6 plus normal that's a flagship whole build and change.
And it looks to be good benefits with it, so it will really improve your Phoenix fleet.
Yeah, we've got Andrew saying in chat, he's saying the flagship Phoenix is a beast, and that's what I've heard and seen as well. So,
are you running, to those who actually have tested the Flag Phoenix, are you like running it alongside, or are you parking it in the corner? Because mine's not ranked, and it's going to be way behind everything else and going to get shot all to heck. So
the 2 that I watched, they put them in the corner because they just they were going. It was helping them out like crazy, with and without.
What am I missing? No projectile speed, maybe. Because
a couple people saying they're parking it. It looks like pretty much parking it, and then Cuttlefish is running his in the pack, and that's because Cuttlefish wants to be different.
That Cuttlefish fears no man or beast, apparently. Or he's got it ranked.
I do want to throw in a reminder to everybody. It does kind of fall in topic, just in case people have let it slip their mind. Even though they're offering 3 2-day tokens, your hold limit is still two two-day tokens. So if you do want to get the third one, make sure you spend one of the two you had already purchased, or you're probably going to be messed over. So
And
don't
remember-
forget that, guys.
And
It
remember
wouldn't
what
let you buy it. I mean, normally if you have reached your limit, it won't let you buy additional ones if you've reached your limit.
Yeah. I
There's
used them, so that's true.
There's Hefe. Hefe, how's your raid going?
It's okay. I mean, it just seems if you're trying to hit it with the A sets, it takes a lot of time. And if you don't have corrosive charged armor, the S sets will give you a fair amount of damage. So, I don't know. I've been going back and forth between the two of them. I mean, it's going okay. I mean, it's nothing special. But I do wish that they had, I don't know, the A sets just seem like I guess the same thing that happened last time is the A sets just take too much time to really get the extensive number of points that were required to get because of the addition of charged armor, and it just doesn't feel like they're tuned the points accordingly, and are basically forcing people to really grind on the A sets, or just hit the S sets, and the S sets have become less of a quote unquote luxury than they were in the past.
Here, here.
And even those are like 8 to 10 minutes a hit. If you'll cast your mind back 6 months, just 4 months, I guess. Even when they introduced the second target, in the siege raid, you could do each of those for 2 to 3 minutes each. So you could do that whole A set in less time than it takes you to do this one target if you're doing it carefully, and you do that one damage free.
How long time is it to grind the A set? I have not tried it. I just go in the 100. But how long is the time to take an A set?
I don't really I don't sit down in there and run through a whole one at a time. So it's not. I never really timed it out. But probably each target takes about as long as the close to the time that the S set does. But you have to do 3 of them, and you get less points.
So like 25, 30 minutes, is that correct?
Again, I haven't sat down and run through. Has anybody else just sit there and run through it and timed it out?
I haven't timed it out. It's not every target as long as an S set. The 85 is pretty big and pretty tough. But I want to say if it's 10 minutes for an S set, it's probably 16 to 18 for an A set.
Okay.
5-6 minutes a target.
Because I've also been retreating to, I've been retreating and trying to do on the map repairs for each little volley, so it takes me even longer, so as well.
Yeah, that does add into the time if you're pulling out and coming back into the target to take care of other stuff, and that's what I'm saying. I was so happy last raid set when we didn't have that second target, and so I'm hopeful that that we don't do that again, because it's time and grind, and when you're at the higher tier, I think the expectation is that you may take a little bit extra damage, but you should not be grinding as if you were hitting very low level targets.
Yeah, and I was asking around last night, after people have seen the Gutsbill's Phoenix, because me and Brian were talking about the fact that if you're only going to get around 40 million points, and that's your limit, and you already own the Phoenix, would you at this point get the Flagship, or would you get the charged corrosive armors if you had to choose between the two of them?
I would definitely go Flagship, having seen it in action.
Mm-hmm.
I would go the Flagship, because the Flagship will help me get more points next time to get more charged armors.
Or the other way around, because also if you are only able to scratch that out, you're not going to get the Gutspill out to get ranked by VXP weekend. So you'd have to park it in the corner. I don't know. I haven't seen it in action, so I don't really know.
No, it's for what I've seen and been hearing. It's a very nice flag.
Has anybody seen the carrier as a flag yet?
No, I have not. Has anybody else on the panel got the carrier flag out, or anybody on chat?
I saw one guy post a picture of they coined the flag and they used that with 4 Skyfires and got like 6 minutes 30 on an S set, just using the lead chip to tank most of it. I think that flagship buffs brings up your Skyfires more than the Phoenix does for the Phoenixes. Like, that ship is so good.
Interesting.
Well, the other even side of it is with the Gutspill Skyfire, with it doing the healing matrix, even if your other ships do take some damage, get set where maybe you've got just the volcano left in the middle. You pull them off to the side for a little bit, let the Gutspill heal your fleet. You're going to save a lot of repair time just doing that, because the Gutspill is still the exact same repair time, but yet it can heal the rest of the fleet. That just an opinion on it, but hey.
Yeah, I mean, you could also hit any target and it'll start healing. You can go into somebody's base and sit in the corner and it'll do the same. It should be doing the same thing like the gluttonies do.
Yeah.
Did I see Derpy joined us?
Yep, right here.
Hey, Derpy, welcome. How's your raid going?
Oh, it's going pretty well. I had to spend a bit to get it kicked off, but I'm at 40 million now, so.
Nice. Excellent. And a big thank you for the videos that you share for everybody. Appreciate you taking the time to do that.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure.
They're good.
Yeah, very, very good. And thank you to everybody else, of course, that puts those out as well. Okay, so we're almost at the end of the show. Does anybody have anything else they want to add or bring up?
I got one thing.
Go ahead.
The Gutspill and Skyfire Carrier, they're both 14-day build times blank. VXP weekend's next weekend, so everyone make sure use some tokens on that so you can get those blanks out and rank them.
Yep. Yeah, I was sitting there last night with my abacus trying to figure out how many tokens I could use to finish my and Brian wasn't around to math for me.
It shows you how many days. It's fine. Yeah. I want to jump off the raid for just a sec. GDA on Thursday had mentioned that you'd get the whole for tech released in a cycle. You'd get the holes, and then you'd get a flagship, and then you'd get what they called an escalation weapon and special later on. So, and that made me freak out, because if you'll all remember when the grid in the grid in the OU10, or the monolith in the OU10 came out, and we all built that, and then they made you change in the last month to D85D. Well, it didn't make you change, but it was incentivized because that was more damage. And there was a D100V versus D100S, which was miles away, just a huge difference. It looks like they're going to be continuing that trend, is what I got from that discussion. And I don't think that's a good way to go about things. I think that the top tech now should kind of stay at the top tech. And especially if they were to release better tech in the FM, then the lifespan of the weapon and special that we're paying for is not even 3 months. The whole may last for a year, but we still have to build those weapons and specials to kind of keep up with what's going on right now in terms of the raids. And we know, well, I assume that we were told that we're going to have to refit soon in the near future before the raid cycle ends. And that really sours the investment of a lot of players, because people are talking about, oh, I'm getting 4 Phoenixes done versus 3 and this and that. The thing is, I could get 3 Phoenixes done in a blank before the raid using everything without coins and saving tokens. But the thing is, if you wanted to build a 4th Phoenix, we're talking about a $50, $60 investment, if not more, just to have a 4th ship ready for the first trade in the cycle. Isn't that enough? And yeah, that player is probably going to drop, some money to get the flagship ready for VXP weekend. And maybe if they're missing a rank or 2, they can buy the tokens on offer to help with that. But it just, they're being honest, but it still seems disingenuous that, oh, you're going to need to refit. Well, why am I buying this stuff now? Why am I spending money and raid points on this now when you're just going to offer me something better? And all I'm getting is stuff that is now devalued because of how soon it's going to be obsolete. And it was mentioned later on that they're not going to tune to that, and I'm going to call them a liar. Because although it's imperfect, the first raid of the cycle of the siege was tuned to the Millennium Gun, which was only available through a purchase offer with real money. And it was improperly tuned to the tech in the next cycle because the tech in the Garrison cycle was underpowered to our current tech at the time. And then they buffed it such that it was significantly higher. And then it would theoretically be tuned to that. Like, they tuned these top targets to the top tech. Otherwise, there'd be no incentive for players to get the top tech. And if you're not going to incentivize players to refit to the top tech, then why do we have to get the top tech and then refit to that? Like, that's a way they make money too. So you can't have both. You can't have, oh, we want money from the refits, but also, oh, you don't have to do it. Then people aren't going to do it and you don't see money from it. Then you up the targets tuned to that, which they said they wouldn't do. So we'd have to refit to that. It just, something is wrong and horribly inconsistent. He said he was a psychologist and an accountant, but a marketer, he ain't. So
yeah, this is some valid points. And I went through the whole refit to the new mortars when they brought that in the weekly, and kicking and screaming and using naughty words. And I don't mind them releasing something better and faster and more shiny as long as those that have not got it yet or have not refit it yet are not penalized because they don't. If a new weapon makes you finish something quicker, then that's fine, but don't make it so that if you don't have the new weapon on there that you're going to get 5 times as much damage, or the time to kill the target, that type of stuff.
Well, there's also the change. Everybody reacted, I think, better to that last time around because they also saw it as an investment in completing their FM.
Yeah, and that's a crucial point. And that's something that we were kind of touching a little bit on last night, was that raid participation may be down this time, whereas the last cycle, however, was geared towards making sure everybody had everything to be able to do the new FM targets from this point forward. So I would have expected a little bit of a drop just because people may not be interested in getting all of this latest stuff, whereas you had to do well in the last raid, or you had to have the monos in order to be able and Empyreans in order to be able to go ahead and get your FM fleet done.
Yeah, and also, are people going to want to just refit these ships in order to hit the 91s for the mega hauls? That's why I don't think this escalation weapon and special is going to be taken as well as it was last time, and because are people going to want to spend all that time for one raid?
And then for one specific target, which I would expect sometime soon would change, because if the Phoenix is grossly overpowered for the 91s, then are Kicks going to go ahead and replace those with something newer, shinier, and tougher?
That's something I'd like to bring up real quick, going back to the mortar thing that Brian mentioned. Another thing that incentivized people to change from the OU-10 to the D85D. The OU-10 is Legion tech, which doesn't get any weight reduction from the shipyard. The D85D is Draconian, and it does benefit from the shipyard reductions. Yep, that's a valid point.
Yeah, I was worried about some things being overweight too. Can I talk about the dry dock for a minute too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that the announcement of that in conjunction with all of these massive changes, and I know there have been build time reductions, and that's actually a positive thing. I think if they plan to continue the escalation stuff going forward, if our stuff costs half the time, then that's half the time we'd need to spend building and refitting, and they don't have to run the same TLC 5 times to give us enough tokens, except the icebreakers are still bad. But the problem is, one, that's still 15 to 16 days that we need to refit for hand-waving reasons, I guess. And the other, with the dry dock, I think cemented it. I don't think that they have build and refit times anywhere near under control as they say they do. I don't think they have a plan. I think they're screwed. I think that they've gone down to the nuclear launch option because for so long they'd been against it, and they had stated the reason why is you shouldn't need it. We should be able to balance the build and refit time such that you don't and you're able to get tech out in time. Well, guess what? You've just released a dry dock, which, with the earlier point, kind of admits exactly that you can't get things under control in any reasonable sense. I know that a lot of stuff is done by algorithms, and maybe there's no human checking in and doing a pass and checking calendars and future plans and this and that. Maybe it's time to change the algorithm. I know that's not exactly an easy task, but if you have to do all of these things, if you have to lower the build time of individual ships and then give us something that could potentially build us a second ship or refit while building us a first, you've screwed up. If you're essentially having the time that we need to do all this stuff and then having some of the components, that build time reduction is drastic and over 60%, but in doing all these things, it feels like they can't get a proper answer, that just something has gone very wrong. And I'm glad to have the reductions, but I don't like what it portends.
Yeah, the other thing too is I've listened to the show and I read the notes that somebody was kind enough to put out there. But if you remember back on one of the other ones that we had when they had come in on one of our shows, there was the discussion between delineating between the PvE and the PvP. And so part of me wonders, because if you remember, they talked about potentially having one side, I think it was like one side repair for PvE and one side repair for PvP. And I'm wondering if, is the dry dock the attempt to do that? Is it where we're going to have a, one build channel for PvE and one build channel for PvP? And, I would have no issues with that, but I certainly understand where you're coming from on the other stuff.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say, because I wouldn't be surprised if that's exactly what they did, Yeah.
Yeah, because if they're just giving us something to just refit anything, it sort of reminds me of like a hoarder buying a storage unit. Doesn't really solve the problem. It's just because the same burden's going to be on them. So
just kicks it down the road. You come up
with some of the most amazing analogy: a hoarder buying a storage.
Well, I just thought of George Carlin. He talked about, you look around, your house is full. You go, hey, I need a bigger house. You get a bigger house, and you go, look at all this space. I need more stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, that brings us to the top of the hour. Thank you, everybody that joined tonight, and best of luck with the raid for everybody else. Thank you for those doing the videos. Keep those coming. And next show, I believe, will be Tuesday. And so, thank you all for in chat. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you next time around.
Bye-bye.
Night, everybody.
Night all.
Good night, all.